say it. This is a family-friendly show. So, all right. So the next guest that's coming to the stage has made a super impact amongst his brothers in the community. Y'all familiar with LVRN? Okay, well, if you're not familiar, you will get familiar after this. I don't know about y'all, but for the longest, I was trying to pronounce LVRN and not spell it. So sorry. All right, on that note, we're going to play this video real quick and then we'll bring him up. No video? This is the second time, guys. Help me. It's fine. Well, we're about to make a movie. I need y'all to put your hands together and get ready for this feature film with my guy, Carlon. But yet again, we meet with this like orange and green and colors. Yes, we understood the assignment. I appreciate when I come across men who give me the verbiage that I need. So when you hit me with an "it's giving," I'm like, oh, you know a thing or two, huh? You know how to talk to the girls. So for the people who aren't familiar with you and the work that you do, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is CARLOnNewyesterdaystomrrow. I am one of the co-founders of Love Renaissance, or LVRN, record label and management company based out of here in Atlanta. And I also serve as the creative director of the company, so handling everything on the creative side and overseeing all of our artist releases, videos, artwork, styling, brand building, everything. So yeah.
All right. So I know you were supposed to come in here and talk to us a little bit about, yeah, I was right, visual identity. So can you explain just what that means? Because I feel like, I know me in particular, I struggle with figuring out what my visual identity looks like just as an MC, as a content creator, and how to show up socially. And so I know it goes far beyond just social media for the work that you do, but with some of the artists that you work with, like Black, huge fan. So can we just dive right into one, what visual identity is, and two, how you have been able to shape what the artists that you look like, that you work with look like?
So I mean, at LVRN, we pride ourselves first and foremost on being storytellers when it comes to how we develop artists and release artists and everything that they do. So when it comes to telling a story with an artist, it's almost like, you know, we have to create a world for each artist. And, you know, we particularly like to sign artists that aren't like the next artist that we have, or because, you know, I just from a personal selfish standpoint, don't want to, it shouldn't feel like work. And like if I'm doing the same thing over again, like it just feels like work. And so when we go into each of our artists, it's like, you know, an artist like Black is a very niche, like he likes what he likes. He doesn't like coming outside, but he has like a specific tone and stuff that, you know, when we first found him, you know, he's just black and white is all he wanted to do. And so like every artist has their own particular interests and they want to just be able to express themselves. And we want our job to kind of enhance that. And so when it comes to like creating a visual identity, I sort of see that as like, you should understand who that artist is and everything that you see from them. So it's like if you see their Instagram, it needs to match what they look like in the videos. It needs to match like the single art. It needs to match what the website looks like, because that's all important. Like when you get to something on like YouTube, like when you type in like Summer Walker type beat, it's because like she has a visual identity that you recognize and that you're familiar with. And it's like I know like when I hear a certain song, it's like, oh, that sounds like Summer. That's because we've created a world that you've like engulfed yourself into and that you feel attached to. And so that's kind of like how we approach each particular artist. And of course, from, you know, like I said, with all them being different, there's different approaches that we take to enhance the particular specialties that that person might have. And that's kind of what it.
So I want to go to the point about you said LBRN is big on storytelling and you all create these worlds for artists. So when you put a type beat behind it, X, Y, and Z. So what does the world or what do you hope people receive when they think about the world of LBRN?
So I mean, I think like I hate using the word like organic, because everyone uses it now for like how they like to approach marketing, but just like authentic and organic, as I think is what separates us from everybody else. Like, you know, I think that as much as Summer may drive me crazy, it's like a part of who she is, and it's a part of what makes her great. And I think that going into each particular artist, it's important to not try to push them in a direction that steers them away from their authentic selves, because I think in this day and age, when it comes to, you know, social media is more important than anything now. And so like you can easily see when an artist doesn't match what they're putting out. when you have someone that's like, whether it's like, doing gangster rap and they're like, you know, putting on in their music videos like this, but then you like either see them in real life or you see their Instagram and he's like a clown. It's like, it doesn't match the vibe. And I feel like that's always been important to us. And so I feel like when you look at LVRN, I want you to really know that all of our artists are their authentic selves, and we push them to continue to do that.
And that's awesome. What I love too is you guys always put this special spin on things. I feel like every time I encounter an LVRN artist, there's always this warm feeling, and it feels familiar and yet so different. And so I appreciate the work that y'all do in meeting people almost where they are, but also giving us a taste to make us like embrace the artist who is coming to be. And so on that note, I think about, saying organic and authenticity and things like that. And you got an artist named Rory, correct?
Well, he was our first artist.
Okay.
Yeah, we started off the company with Rory, but like we don't work together anymore. But that's how we started. Like, we came together.
Yeah, and we're in this time period of people just being their truest selves. And so when you're dealing with an artist who is so firm in who they are or appears to be, how do you give suggestion so much so that they're willing to take it without like, this is my thing?
I mean, I think that it's a big thing that became between us as partners when we created the company ourselves, and our trust with the artist is like, you have to have trust in each other. It doesn't work if you don't have trust in each other. And particularly for us, we're a boutique label to where we don't sign a lot of acts. And so it's a trust to where the only artist that we're willing to sign is as artists is going to give us their all. We're very competitive as executives ourselves. And so like, we always go into kind of like those competitive natures with artists. So it's like, I don't want to be outworking my artists, because at that point, you're not doing the same agreement that we had. So I feel like there's always going to be a level of like checks and balances. We're both checking each other. And I feel like when it comes to authentic artists, it's like you have to also believe in us and trust us as your team to push you in spaces that's for the betterment of your brand. I think that some artists come into the game just feeling like, this is my music. I'm gonna make music for me. I don't care who listens to it. I don't care to like adapt to any sort of fan bases. And it's like, that's cool if that's the type of artist you are. But like, if you want to be a successful artist, if you want to be, a lot of times we're only signing artists that want to be huge, want to be global artists, and like, there isn't a global fan base that identifies with just an Atlanta perspective. It's like there has to be some sort of connectivity, and you need to trust us in our ability to be able to spread that. Because I feel like, especially with Rory, was a great example of like a kid that, and I was 19, we found Rory, and we're managing Rory. And so like, I think that he had his perspective of like wanted to change the world, had a very just like from the woods perspective that was like, all right, cool, let's take what he wants to do and like, let's figure out how to make it cool. So it's like, we just did little things of like, if you want to walk around barefoot, it's like, all right, cool, let's go walk around barefoot and put you courtside at like the Hawks games. And like, let's make it interesting so that people find a way to tap into what makes you unique, and it spreads to more people than your immediate kind of like friend group.
Was that a real thing?
Yeah.
Walking around barefoot?
Yeah.
That's intense. So you really did go to a Hawks game?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, we did it. Like everything we did. It was like, I mean, and we were very young at that point in time. So it was like everything that I think that's, we had a brashness about us when we first came out, and we still attack the industry in that way of just like any cool idea that we find that we deem cool. It's like, let's go pull it off. Let's find some way to pull it off. So yeah, no idea is too crazy.
When I'm talking to people, especially in the music industry or who aspire to be in it, everybody has that I was a part of a promo team story to some degree. Whether you're passing out flyers, you was at the party. I remember I would say, yeah, I'm on the flyer. Well, or I'm hosting the party. Hosting now is so much different. The jargon has changed. So what does promo look like today? How is LVRN doing promo differently? I mean, obviously we have TikTok and Instagram Reels, things like that, and it's really the people blowing the records up just in a different way. But what does the future of promo look like for you?
I mean, I think that as much as new technology is always introduced, we always find a way to include that into whatever we do, but we always have to have a holistic approach to marketing. So like there is always a who, what, when, why, where to everything that we do, to where like Of course, we're going to have our digital campaign. We're going to do the TikToks. We're going to be on social media. But for us, it's also important for our artists because a lot of times they have a certain message that they're trying to get across, that we do something physical and something tangible and something real as well too with our marketing. And so like, when there is, a Black release like we done as last project, that was like before we let anything, before we gave any information out to the internet, we actually like did approach where we had a bunch of fans like sign up their addresses and like, you're going to receive a gift from Black. And we mailed out what was the album cover and the actual album date to real fans that signed up before we did everything to the internet, because at that point you still feel a little bit more attached to the actual process rather than like the internet, because I think that everything in the internet goes so fast nowadays. And so like there's always going to be that level of needing to be modern, needing to be current, and using the new tools that's available. But I think in that space of where everything becomes, digital and AI, some people still want to be attached to the actual person and feel a human connection. So I don't feel like that aspect of marketing is ever going to like dissipate. But I do think that, TikTok is definitely what your modern label is kind of pushing for all of the artists and where they want to go. But I think we just have a different mindset to it.
Yeah, and we talk about physical marketing still be a thing. We might not be passing out flyers, but can you talk a little bit about physical marketing promo more for the consumer, and what that looks like? Because I guarantee I'm not walking up to you and be like, here, take this flyer, listen to this artist.
No, that's a fact. So yeah, I had this like this last summer album that we just did, Still Over It.
Great project. Great.
Let's give some of her props. But I don't know how many people are familiar with Summer, but she's not the best social media person as far as like from a commercial standpoint. So she's not trying to do a lot of shit. Like, so like my whole approach to working with Summer is just like, obviously she's put out an amazing debut album a couple of years back, and everyone's been waiting for what she's going to do next. But obviously knowing Summer, she's not going to do a lot of physical promo herself. So it's like, how can we still do something physical, but without her using her? And I mean, I'll give you the scoop. It actually came from like something I seen on like TikTok, like some years prior, where I think in Europe, in London or something, there was like a bank that like put like $1 million in like a bulletproof case and was like, if you could break this case, you can get the $1 million. And I sort of like, assimilated that to like Summer's album was like, it's such a coveted item, like $1 million. Like I feel like a lot of people would want to just like be able to have the opportunity to break open this case to get this album. And so from there, we created a whole new physical item for Summer, which was a hard drive with the album was actually on. And we started to use that as our item to kind of like be able to do promo things, because we know Summer's not going to do it. So yeah, I think that was still an approach of taking an artist that's not her talent to be able to like, do a bunch of interviews and go in front of people and talk, because that's not her skill. But we're still able to find some way to use what she's good at and what she's be able to create to be creative and do other things to still give that physical marketing.
Yeah, and I think the beautiful part about it too is that there's still so much buy-in to her, because we don't know too much, if that makes sense. I appreciate an artist that lets us in to somewhat get to know them, but then leaves enough for a mystery. And so Over It is still top 5 albums for me. I don't know about y'all, word for word, from the pit of my soul. I'm sorry, it's not like a I hate man feeling, but that's such a good project. She's so good at what she does. So please relay the message. I know my summer girls, y'all in here? We're summer guys, y'all in here? Thank you. I just gotta make sure we're all on one accord. So when it comes to a rollout, not even just for Summer, but for the artists that you're working with, what makes for a good rollout? Because timing is everything.
Timing is definitely everything. We've definitely, you definitely see artists all the time that might be like a little bit above or ahead of their time, or might be coming late. So timing is definitely everything, and that's something that you can't change. So I think that besides that, when it comes to a good rollout, like I said, for us, it's all about particularly what the artist is saying in this particular project, but also we always look at the overall scope of like, where you want your career to go, which I think is important, because I think that a lot of times that we have even, struggled in the past with just like taking our approach for a larger scale artist and like doing that same approach for an artist that's now coming up, and it doesn't work because like, you're not going to do a glass box activation for an artist that no one cares about. And so I think that we've had our hiccups of trying to do too much a certain time. And so like there is always going to be a process of, I think in the beginning, it's cultivating your cult fan base. It's playing to who, your core demographic is, whether that's, we have an artist, North Ave Jax, right now that's from Vermont, where it's like, we spent the whole past last year just marketing and doing stuff in Vermont. Because before, you find artists all the time that might like blow up off of like a TikTok song, and now they're in a public space, but no one in their hometown messes with them. And, that's always something we try to get ahead of the curve. And so like, I think that there's always a time for when you attack a certain space and when you want to level up and talk to a different crowd. So yeah, timing is everything. And I think that that's the biggest thing going into a rollout is like understanding the demographic of who you're trying to talk to in this particular time. Yeah.
So I have a note on here about revitalizing fan engagement. What exactly does that look like? Because on my end, like it feels like a mouthful. But to break it down, what exactly does that entail?
Yeah. So I think that we have an artist that we managed that's signed to Shady Eminem called Westside Boogie. And a couple of years ago when we first signed him, we put out a project called Everything's for Sale. But at that point he hadn't released music for like 2 or 3 years, a couple of years. And so he was just kind of cold. And I think that there's a lot of artists that, if you put out a project, you have some success and then you're still trying to figure it out for a number of years, your fans kind of go away and you're very cold. And so like, I think that going into his next project, that Everything for Sale album, we had to kind of like reintroduce people to who he is. And outside of music, because we always knew the music was good, I think that we used an attribute that hadn't been seen from him before, and that's his personality. Because he's a very funny just comedian. He's like very well spoken. He's an amazing actor. And so our approach to like, even before music came, was just like introducing people to you as a personality and doing funny videos. And I think there's a couple of like funny like skits that we did. We had this like suit that we used for this album where he would like turn into either like a pastor or a car salesman or just like a bunch of different like just like funny skits. But those went viral for the time, and it was just like people just checking into who you are as a person. It was like, who's this guy? And then we came with the music, and it was like, oh, the music is fire, so now I'm in love with it. But I think revitalizing an image is sort of like, there are spurts of when you haven't been active. Like I think that people use the Instagram approach of just like, oh, I'm gonna just delete all my pictures and just like that's gonna be my whole marketing. That's just not enough, I think, in today's day and age. So it's like using different attributes that you have that you maybe haven't put out before to reintroduce people to you as a brand outside of the music, I think is equally as important in today's day and age.
Yeah. And Yesterday's Tomorrow is all about community. We come together, obviously, to celebrate Dr. King and the works that he has done, not only for the world, but especially here and for Black people. But let's talk a little bit about community for you, because it definitely takes a village. And what you and the guys, my dog Amber, what you guys have created and what you are continuing to do, where you are, what all you've accomplished, what does the next 5 years look like for LBRN?
Man. I think that, something that became very important to us in 2020 and kind of the end of 2019, especially with summer sort of being the face, was getting more to mental health. So that was a big thing for us. So just like introducing not only our artists, but our staff as well too into therapy. And so, we became like the first label to actually have like a mental health division. And so all of our staff and artists are able to see therapists that we take care of and we provide those opportunities. And so I think introducing that more into like outside of just the music business, which I think definitely needs it, because music business has been like hell for a number of years, but just into businesses is as a whole, like all types of like, because I think that, I forget who I was having a conversation with last week, but she works in a tech space of where, I remember she brought up a conversation of like where we were seeing in, I think it was Forbes or whatever thing about the mental health division thing that we did. And our company actually like started trying, to have the therapy sessions for their or paying for therapy sessions for their staff through that. And I think that, just seeing that that's able to extend past our nature of what we do in entertainment and into other business, I think has been important. So I think that providing, getting more into the mental health space just for our staff and employees, and being a trailblazer in the space of entertainment, so other record labels, I think, and include that, I think is very important for us. Um, Obviously, a lot of success within music as well too. I think that we have very promising artists that we're having a lot out this year with, like Alex Vaughn. Um, we just signed a new artist from Britain, from London, that I'm super inspired by, Ayana, who's going to be great for us this year. There'll be like Summer Walker and Black projects coming out this year, so it's going to be a big year for us in that space. And then we just completed our new office studio here in Atlanta, but we also bought a new building in LA, so this expansion into LA is going to be big for us too.
It is thick. I'm excited. And I know the golden question here for my people interested in music is, what does it take? What do you look for when it comes to people wanting to work with LVRN?
I think there's a level of persistence. I forgot who met earlier, who was telling me is that, like, he actually had DM'd me like 2 years ago, actually on my birthday, so I didn't see it because I was probably messed up somewhere. But like, even I saw him today as well too, and he's working with Kirk and you guys, and so that's amazing to kind of like see the full turnaround. So I think there's like a level of persistence, because nothing in this industry is given to you. The only way we were able to be in our space is we had to create our own opportunities, because we were out here looking for music jobs, and no one was giving us any sort of like headway, and so we had to create our own space. So I think there is a level of persistence that you have to just be an entrepreneur in general. I think all music execs are entrepreneurs in their own space, because you have to create your own brand, and also attach that to skills that aren't tangible. It's all creative ideas. So I think that you always have to have a certain branding about yourself as well too. But I think a key thing that I think my partner Sean always says, this is like having something to offer as well. I think that a lot of times people go into conversations with either executives or people that want to want to build a relationship with, but it comes off as like a purely taking situation. You're trying to take information, you're trying to get stuff, but you have nothing to offer. And I think that, when you find people that have, in certain spaces, high level or whatever have you, we get these questions or these conversations a lot. And the people that kind of stick out is like, I remember there's one time to where I was talking with this kid that I could see that obviously he wanted some information on the space of music, but he introduced himself as like, yo, I'm the sneaker plug. I was just like, yo, like, if you need sneakers, like, I got you. And like, he actually hit me up with these like sneakers that were like hard to find. And it was like, from there, the conversation went to, like, all right, cool. Like, what opportunities, like, what are you trying to do? How can I help you? Whatever. So I think it's like, and it doesn't have to be something monumental. I feel like there are always like certain niches that, whatever it is, can be helpful to the next person. So I think going into any sort of conversation that you want to have, when you're trying to build a relationship with someone with something to offer, I think is great.
All right. I got one more thing. I'm sorry. One more thing. Real quick. I did this thing earlier. I like to call it brag about it, because everybody's being very humble. And I know it's not always about us. It's about all of us. But for you, tell me about a moment where you went home and was like, I did that. A project you worked on, worked with an artist, something that just had you over the moon.
Man, it's tough. I'm still in that space of, and this is because I do therapy as well too. So like, it's always it's a reoccurring thing of trying to live in the moment more. I think that I've been a product of, and I think that I've had this problem with a lot of my partners as well too, just like always looking at the next thing, just having like, we've titled it as like a killer instinct of just like always wanting more. But I think that being able to sit back and reflect has been a struggle, a challenge for us. I will say that my answer now would probably be this building that we purchased last year and put a lot of investment into. It's like, it's like a $3 million building. So like, it was something that like was unimaginable to us when we started this process 10 years ago. So I think that being able to have a headquarters in Atlanta, a production space, we're able to like do everything like in one room, have all of our staff come and work out of here, and we get amazing compliments whenever people come. because it's a beautiful space. So I think being able to like purchase that building and really create a hub for us in the city that we started our company is probably the biggest thing that I hold on to right now.
Well, congratulations on all of your successes. I feel like I don't even have to ask what tomorrow looks like, because tomorrow looks like this $3 million building. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what more LVRN does, right? Y'all give it up one time for Carlon Ramon.